The Galactic Arena was an ancient structure, its towering walls filled with echoes of countless battles. This was a place of immense power and prestige, where species from all over the galaxy gathered to prove their worth. For millennia, it had been a symbol of strength and dominance, a place where physical prowess was all that mattered. The spectators, alien beings of every shape and size, roared with excitement as gladiators from various planets fought for glory. It was here that the strongest were celebrated, and the weak were swiftly discarded. The atmosphere in the stands was electric as the crowd jeered, their voices a cacophony of alien languages. A hulking Vierak warrior, his 4 muscular arms bulging as he prepared to face his next opponent, sneered at the human fighter who stood trembling in the arena's center. This was the first human to step foot in the Galactic Arena, and the crowd was eager to see how quickly he would be crushed under the might of the Vierak's strength. "Fragile human," the Vierak growled, his voice deep and menacing. "You do not belong here." The human, a young man named Samuel, shifted nervously on his feet, his eyes wide with fear. The crowd laughed, their mocking gestures aimed directly at him. It was a humiliation that many other species had endured before him. Earthlings were considered weak, barely more than a curiosity in the vast expanse of the galaxy. The fight was over before it began. Samuel made one desperate lunge forward, his movements clumsy and awkward, but the Vierak merely swatted him aside with a flick of his massive arm. The young human crumpled to the ground, groaning in pain, while the crowd erupted into raucous laughter. They had seen this before. Humans were nothing but entertainment, an amusing display of weakness in the grand spectacle of the arena. The Galactic Council, the governing body overseeing all intergalactic diplomacy, watched from their elevated platform. They were thrilled by the spectacle, their eyes gleaming with satisfaction as the human was humiliated. The Council had no interest in the success of humanity. Earth was a new player on the galactic stage, and many of the Council members held the belief that humanity's potential was limited. It was a position they were eager to reinforce. The underestimation of humans, their lowly status in the galaxy, suited the Council just fine. Commander Isaac Hale, however, was not here for sport. A decorated veteran of Earth's wars, Isaac had been sent as part of a diplomatic mission, not as a participant in the arena. He had fought his battles on the front lines, facing enemies far more dangerous than those that could be found in this gladiatorial pit. He had seen the destruction of entire cities, the loss of countless lives, and the ravages of war. But even he had to admit that there was something deeply unsettling about the spectacle unfolding before him. He had not expected to witness the mockery of his people so openly. As Samuel lay defeated, Isaac's jaw tightened. He had always believed in the power of human resilience, the strength of Earth's people to rise above any challenge. But this was a humiliation of the highest order. Isaac could feel the weight of the crowd's derision, their gaze trained on him and the rest of Earth's representatives. It was more than just a fight, it was a message. The message was clear: humans were insignificant, weak, unfit for the galaxy's grand stage. He turned to his companions, the other human diplomats, who were seated at a nearby table. They watched the scene with quiet discomfort, their faces flushed with embarrassment. A few exchanged glances, but none of them moved to intervene. They were diplomats, not soldiers. Their role was to negotiate, to represent Earth's interests among the stars, not to step into the ring. The arena announcer's voice rang out, loud and booming. "Next challenger!" The words felt like a taunt as the next fighter prepared to take his place in the pit. Isaac felt the anger building inside him, a familiar fire that had been honed through years of battle. He had witnessed countless acts of bravery and sacrifice throughout his life, and he knew the strength of his people. Earth's warriors had always found ways to overcome their limitations through cleverness and determination. But today, that strength was being mocked. A voice inside him told him to leave, to walk away from this place and abandon the farce of intergalactic diplomacy. But another voice, the one that had guided him through every challenge he had ever faced, told him to stay. To fight. To defend humanity's honor, even if the odds were stacked against him. Without thinking, Isaac stood up. His decision was made. He was no longer just a diplomat, he was a human. And he would not let his people be ridiculed any longer. He stepped forward, his boots heavy against the ground, each step an act of defiance. The crowd silenced for a brief moment, their attention now fixed on him. A murmur rippled through the stands as Isaac entered the arena. He was not like the other fighters. He wasn't big, nor was he an alien with a monstrous physical advantage. But he was a soldier, a man who had faced impossible odds and overcome them. Isaac's gaze locked on the Vierac warrior who stood across from him, smirking in disbelief. The warrior expected another easy victory. But Isaac would not give him that satisfaction. Isaac raised his hands, not in the traditional stance of a fighter, but in a gesture that was unmistakably human. He wasn't here to win through sheer strength. He wasn't here to fight in the way the galaxy expected. He was here to show them something far more powerful than brute force. As the Vierac charged, Isaac sidestepped, his movements precise and calculated. He used the creature's own momentum against it, leveraging his understanding of physics and his military training. With one swift move, Isaac sent the Vierac crashing to the ground, his immense form hitting the arena floor with a deafening thud. The crowd fell silent. Isaac's victory wasn't flashy, and it certainly wasn't what anyone had expected. But it was undeniable. He had outsmarted the Vierac, using strategy rather than strength to bring down the much larger and stronger foe. For a brief moment, there was silence. Then, as if on cue, the arena erupted in confusion, astonishment, and begrudging respect. Isaac stood tall, his breathing steady, but his eyes cold with determination. He had done it. But this was only the beginning. The fight was far from over, and the true battle would not be fought in the arena. It would be fought in the hearts and minds of the spectators, the diplomats, and the Galactic Council itself. Isaac had proven one thing today: humans were not to be underestimated. And he would make sure the galaxy would remember that. The battle was not just about winning a fight, it was about changing perceptions. And Isaac was ready to do whatever it took to make that happen. Isaac stood in the center of the Galactic arena, his heart still pounding from the adrenaline of his first victory. The deafening roar of the crowd echoed in his ears, but his focus was elsewhere. He had proven something today, not just to the galaxy, but to himself. Humans weren't the weaklings that the galaxy had been led to believe. Isaac knew that the true strength of humanity didn't lie in muscle or size. It lay in creativity, adaptability, and the will to overcome adversity. And today, he had proven that. The silence that had followed his victory was now replaced by a chaotic mix of awe, confusion, and disbelief. The audience, a mix of different species, was stunned into silence. Isaac's unconventional tactics had caught them off guard. They had expected a display of brute strength, something they could easily mock and dismiss. But Isaac had done something they didn't understand. He had outsmarted his opponent. The announcer's voice crackled over the speakers, breaking the stillness. "The human has won!" he proclaimed, the words carrying a sense of disbelief. The crowd hesitated, unsure whether to react with anger or admiration. Eventually, they chose the latter, albeit reluctantly. A slow but steady applause began, echoing through the arena as Isaac walked back to his corner. The Vierac warrior, nursing his pride and injuries, was dragged off the arena floor by his own species. Isaac wiped the sweat from his brow, his body sore from the brief but intense battle. He was no stranger to pain, but this was different. This wasn't a battlefield. This was the Galactic Arena, a place where every move could make or break you, where victory meant more than just survival, it meant respect. And Isaac had earned it, at least for now. As he stood there, catching his breath, a figure emerged from the shadows of the arena. A woman, her feline features immediately noticeable, approached him with a confident stride. She was dressed in dark, flowing robes, her eyes glowing with a sharp intelligence. Isaac tensed, instinctively scanning her for any signs of threat. But there was none. She wasn't here to fight him, at least not physically. "I saw your fight," she said, her voice smooth and measured. "You surprised them, didn't you?" Isaac didn't respond immediately. He wasn't sure of who she was, but she had clearly been watching the fight with an astute eye. "I didn't come here to make friends," he said finally. "I came to prove a point." The woman smiled, though it wasn't a smile of mockery. There was something more calculating in her expression, as if she were analyzing Isaac rather than judging him. "You did more than that. You opened their eyes." Isaac raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She took a step closer, her posture relaxed but still commanding. "The Vierak are strong, but they lack the one thing that you humans have: ingenuity. You didn't fight like them. You used your mind, your understanding of physics, your tactics. That's something they'll never understand." Isaac's suspicion grew. "And you think that's going to make them respect humanity?" The woman laughed softly, a sound that seemed almost pained. "Respect? No. Not yet, at least. But it will make them think twice. It will make them question the narrative they've been sold, that humans are weak, incapable of true combat. But it's not just the Vierak you need to worry about." Isaac furrowed his brow, his wariness growing. "Who are you? And what do you want from me?" The woman's gaze flickered to the crowd, still murmuring with shock and intrigue. "My name is Lyra Ti. I am from the Iliahrai, a species once respected for our strategic minds, now disgraced. I've been watching the Council's manipulation of your people. They've been feeding lies to the galaxy, painting humans as nothing more than pets to be laughed at. But they've underestimated you. They've underestimated humanity's potential." Isaac's mind raced. He had heard whispers of discontent within the Galactic Council, but he hadn't known how deep it ran. "What do you mean, manipulation?" he asked, his voice low. Lyra Ti's eyes hardened. "I've seen the documents, the covert plans. The Council orchestrated your humiliation here. They want to keep you in the shadows, prevent humanity from gaining real influence. They're afraid of you, afraid of what you might become. They'll do anything to suppress your rise." Isaac's stomach tightened with the realization. He had come here to prove humanity's worth, to defend Earth's honor. But he hadn't anticipated this level of corruption. The arena fights weren't just about strength. They were part of a larger, insidious game designed to keep Earth from ascending to a position of power. The Council didn't want humans to rise. They wanted to keep them down, relegated to the status of a lesser species, incapable of challenging the galaxy's power structures. Isaac clenched his fists, the anger bubbling up again. "So, what do you suggest I do? Sit back and let them win?" Lyra Ti gave him a sharp look. "No. You fight back. You expose their lies, their manipulation. But you'll need help. I can guide you, show you the weaknesses of other species. The Vierak are just the beginning. There's much more at play here than just these games. I've been watching the Council's moves for a long time. And now, with your victory, you've given me an opportunity to strike back." Isaac's mind raced with possibilities. He had always been a fighter, but now he realized that his fight wasn't just about physical combat. It was about strategy, about outthinking the very system that sought to suppress humanity. The fight in the arena was just a small piece of a much larger puzzle. "I'm in," Isaac said, his voice resolute. "But we'll need to move carefully. One victory isn't enough. We need to show them what humanity is really capable of." Lyra Ti's expression softened slightly, but there was still a calculating gleam in her eyes. "I thought you'd say that. The road ahead won't be easy, but you've already proven that you're not like the others. You think differently." Isaac nodded, his gaze narrowing as he surveyed the arena. The audience had already begun to disperse, but he knew they would remember his fight. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. And now, he had a new ally, a disgraced strategist who saw potential in him, in humanity. Together, they would expose the truth and change the course of history. "One step at a time," Isaac said, his voice steady. "Let's start with the next fight." Isaac had spent the next few days in a state of focused determination, as if each moment in the galactic arena held the weight of the future. The spectators no longer mocked humanity, not after his surprising victory. But respect, while earned, was not freely given. The arena was a stage where strength, speed, and raw power were the currencies that defined a fighter's worth. Isaac understood that well, but he also knew that the true battle had only just begun. Lyra had been working in the shadows, helping him prepare for his next fight. She was a wealth of knowledge when it came to alien physiology and battle tactics, providing him with detailed strategies for how to deal with the upcoming opponents. Isaac had learned much from her over the past few days, about the different species, their weaknesses, and their pride. Most of all, he learned that the battle in the arena was a psychological game as much as a physical one. The key was to exploit the cracks in his enemy's confidence, not just their bodies. The next challenge was not going to be a simple fight. The announcer had introduced the next match with a kind of reverence. This was not just any fighter, this was a legend, undefeated, a figure of mythic status within the arena. The mysterious masked champion? No one knew their true identity. No one knew their species. They had remained silent, fighting with deadly precision, and had never once been defeated. Isaac felt a knot form in his stomach as the fight drew closer. He had heard the rumors about this masked warrior, the one who never spoke, never showed emotion, and never lost. The fighter's reputation had spread like wildfire across the galaxy, and now Isaac had to face them. The thought made him uneasy. Not because he was afraid to fight, but because of the shadow this fighter cast over the arena. Lyra had been watching this fighter closely. She had told Isaac everything she knew about them, and what she didn't know, she had learned through subtle channels. The masked fighter was a human. Isaac's mind struggled to process the information when Lyra first told him. The fighter was part of a covert experiment initiated by a faction within the Galactic Council, designed to push the boundaries of human capabilities by enhancing them with alien technology. The experiment had gone terribly wrong. Isaac felt a chill run down his spine as he realized the implications. This fighter, the one who had never lost, was not just a testament to human strength. It was a horrifying symbol of what humanity might become if it chose to sacrifice its morals for power. The day of the fight arrived, and Isaac entered the arena with a mixture of resolve and unease. The crowd was electric, their excitement palpable. The masked fighter had become a symbol of invincibility, and now Isaac was about to face them. As he made his way into the center of the arena, he caught a glimpse of the mysterious figure across from him. They were covered from head to toe in a sleek, armored suit, their face hidden behind a dark, reflective visor. The figure was unmoving, their presence a silent challenge. The announcer's voice rang out, but Isaac's focus was solely on the masked fighter. There was something unnerving about them, a sense of familiarity, but also something foreign, something unnatural. Isaac had faced many enemies in his time, but this was different. The fighter was a mirror of what humanity could become if it surrendered its essence in the pursuit of power. The fight began with a rush of movement. The masked fighter was incredibly fast, their strikes quick and precise, each move calculated to disable Isaac. Isaac dodged and countered, his movements sharp and deliberate. He knew that he couldn't overpower this opponent. The fighter's enhancements made them physically superior, but Isaac had an advantage of his own, his mind. He had learned from his previous fights that the key to success was adaptability. The first few moments of the fight were a blur as the fighter's enhanced speed and strength pushed Isaac to the edge. But Isaac's mind never wavered. He watched every movement, every twitch of muscle, every subtle shift in the fighter's posture. The masked opponent's reliance on their enhancements was evident, and Isaac began to look for weaknesses. A sudden shift in momentum came when the fighter made a fatal mistake. Their strike, though powerful, left an opening, one that Isaac was quick to exploit. He ducked low, using his opponent's momentum against them, and launched a calculated strike to the fighter's side. It wasn't enough to take them down, but it was enough to rattle them. For the first time, the masked fighter hesitated. It was a small crack, but it was enough for Isaac to notice. Isaac's eyes flickered with recognition as he realized something. The fighter's moves, their fighting style, were distinctly human, too human. The way they fought wasn't just about the enhancements. It was about something deeper. The fighter was human, just like him. But something had been stripped away in the process: their identity, their humanity. The fight continued, but Isaac's focus shifted. He wasn't just fighting for victory anymore. He was fighting to uncover the truth. The masked fighter was more than just a weapon of war. They were a victim of the same system that Isaac was now fighting against. The Galactic Council's twisted experiment had turned a person into a tool, stripping them of their free will, their soul. The realization sent a surge of anger through Isaac. The fight wasn't just about proving humanity's worth. It was about exposing the corruption of the Council and the consequences of playing God with other beings' lives. Isaac's strategy evolved. He began to push the fighter harder, forcing them into positions where their enhanced abilities couldn't compensate for their lack of emotional control. The fighter's movements grew more erratic, their precision faltering. Isaac could see the struggle behind their faceless mask. This was no longer a fight between two opponents. It was a battle for the very soul of humanity. Finally, in a move that left the crowd gasping, Isaac managed to disable the fighter's suit, revealing the face beneath the mask. The fighter, still struggling, stared at Isaac in silence. What Isaac saw beneath the mask was not just a human face. It was a symbol of everything the Galactic Council had tried to hide. The fighter was one of their own, a victim of an experiment that had gone horribly wrong. The truth had been exposed. Isaac didn't gloat over his victory. Instead, he stood there, his heart heavy with the weight of what he had just uncovered. The fighter, human but altered beyond recognition, was a living testament to the Council's disregard for the sanctity of life. Isaac knew that this moment would change everything. The crowd was silent, their shock palpable. Isaac had not just won the fight, he had shattered the illusion that humanity was weak, that it was unworthy. But in doing so, he had also revealed a dark secret, one that the Galactic Council could no longer ignore. As the fighter was taken away, Isaac looked out at the silent arena, his mind already racing with what to do next. The fight was far from over. The Council had exposed its hand, and now Isaac would make sure the galaxy saw the truth. Isaac stood in the middle of the galactic arena, his breath coming in shallow bursts. The adrenaline of the fight was still coursing through his veins, but his mind was focused. The crowd, still processing the shocking revelation of the masked fighter's true identity, was eerily silent. Isaac had done what he came to do. He had exposed the truth. The fight itself had been just a means to an end, a way to make the galaxy see what was hidden in the shadows. The moment he unmasked the fighter, humanity's place in the galaxy had irrevocably shifted. As the fighter was escorted from the arena, Isaac remained in the center, the weight of the crowd's gaze pressing down on him. His victory was no longer just about proving humans weren't weak, it was about something far larger. The Galactic Council had been hiding its darkest secrets, manipulating not only humanity but entire species for the sake of power. And Isaac had just taken the first step in exposing it all. Behind him, Lyra Ti appeared, her expression unreadable as she took in the scene. She had been by his side through the entire journey, guiding him with her knowledge and strategies. But now, she stood at a crossroads. The secrets they had uncovered could either make or break the fragile alliances between the species in the arena. It was a dangerous game they were playing, and Isaac knew the stakes were higher than ever. "You did it," Lyra Ti said softly, her voice carrying the weight of something more than just victory. "You've exposed them. But now the real challenge begins." Isaac turned to face her, his eyes hard with resolve. "Exposing the Council is only the first step. We've shaken the foundation, but it's not enough. They'll try to bury this, sweep it under the rug like everything else they've done. We need to make sure the truth is heard." Lyra Ti nodded, her feline eyes narrowing. "You're right. The Council has far too much power to be taken down easily. But now the galaxy knows they've been hiding the truth. This fight, it's not over yet." Isaac's gaze swept over the arena, taking in the stillness of the crowd. For the first time, he felt a flicker of something new, a sense of hope. Humanity had been underestimated, not just by the Council, but by every species in the galaxy. And now, Isaac had the platform to change that. He had the chance to redefine humanity's place in the universe. He turned back to Lyratii. We need to make sure the galaxy sees who the real enemy is. The Council's lies have gone unchecked for too long, and we can't let them manipulate humanity any further. Lyratii's expression hardened. You'll have to do more than just fight in the arena to expose them. The Council will have their supporters, and they'll stop at nothing to discredit you. You need to go directly to the people. To the galaxy? Isaac clenched his fists, determination surging within him. Then that's what we'll do. We'll take the fight to them. Every species, every planet, they need to know what the Council has been hiding. We're not just fighting for Earth's place in the galaxy anymore. We're fighting for the truth. The sound of footsteps broke the tension, and Isaac turned to see a group of alien diplomats approaching. They had witnessed the entire fight, and their expressions were a mix of curiosity, respect, and wariness. These were the species who had once viewed humanity as nothing more than a curiosity, a lesser species destined for subjugation. But now, they were faced with a human who had not only survived the arena but had exposed the dark underbelly of galactic politics. One of the diplomats, a tall, serpentine alien with shimmering scales, stepped forward. "Commander Hale," he said, his voice measured but with a hint of awe. "We've seen your fight. We've seen what you've done here. But now the question is, what happens next? The Council won't take this lying down." Isaac met the alien's gaze, his voice calm but filled with authority. "The Council can no longer hide. The truth is out, and the galaxy knows it. I will make sure the rest of the universe hears it too. The Council's manipulation of humanity ends now." Lyratii stepped forward, her voice low but firm. "And we won't stop until we expose everything. The Council's corruption runs deeper than you think. It's not just about the arena. It's about control. About manipulating species for their own gain." The diplomat's eyes flickered, and for the first time, there was a hint of uncertainty in his gaze. "You're not wrong. But the Council has allies. Powerful ones. You've just made yourself a target. All of humanity will be a target." Isaac didn't flinch. "Then let them come. We'll stand together." The diplomat nodded slowly, his gaze shifting between Isaac and Lyratii. "The galaxy is watching, Commander Hale. And the galaxy will follow the truth. But only if you show them the way." Isaac's eyes hardened as he turned back to the arena, the vast space before him now more symbolic than ever. The truth is already in motion. The first step has been taken. We'll use every platform, every voice, to make sure the Council's reign ends. It's time for the galaxy to see the real strength of humanity. With that, Isaac and Lyratii made their way from the arena floor, the murmurs of the diplomats following them. The next phase of their fight would not be in the ring. It would be a battle of words, of ideas, and of truth. The Galactic Council's influence would not be easy to topple, but Isaac had already proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. And now, the galaxy would know it too. The fight for Earth's place in the galaxy had begun, but this time, Isaac would not just be fighting for survival. He would be fighting for the future of humanity, and for the truth that had been hidden for far too long. As Isaac prepared for the challenges ahead, he knew the road would not be easy. There would be dangers, betrayals, and battles fought in places far removed from the arena. But the truth had a power of its own, and with Lyratii by his side and the galaxy watching, Isaac was ready to see this fight through to the end. The Galactic Council's empire of lies was crumbling, and humanity was at the heart of the storm. Isaac had ignited a spark, and now, it was up to him to ensure that it became a blazing fire. The future of the galaxy would be reshaped by the very species they had sought to suppress. And as Isaac stood at the crossroads of his journey, one thing was certain: humanity would no longer be ignored.